So Hell Let Loose have just released their 2023 roadmap, which I thought we could get into in this video. I will say overall I'm pretty positive about it, fairly optimistic. There are definitely some things that are worth discussing, but on the whole I think there's some exciting stuff coming in. Definitely a lot of things to look forward to if you're a Hell Let Loose fan. The first thing that was addressed was the Team 17 full acquisition of Hell Let Loose, which is clearly going to have a big influence. We'll see that influence throughout this video in the direction that Hell Let Loose goes in. So the first update that they mentioned was the update that we're getting in April, which is focusing on quality of life improvements and also trying to fix some long-standing bugs. A big theme, something they emphasized quite a lot, was the introduction of more in-game analytics on their back end, which should hopefully allow them to fix bugs quicker. Now I'm hoping, they didn't really mention this too much, they were mostly talking about bug fixes. I'm really hoping that in-game analytics also helps them with the performance and optimizing the game a bit better, because that is something which, in my opinion, Hell Let Loose has struggled with for quite some time. So not only if it does bug fixes, that'll be great, but if it can also improve the performance, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. They next started talking about some map refreshes that we're going to be getting. So I don't mind that, mix up some of the maps, keep them a bit more fresh, keep them a bit more enjoyable to keep coming back to. So I think there'll be some more storytelling, they're saying, within the maps. That's pretty awesome. I like that. Keep that going. Anything just to keep mixing up the maps. I know they're huge maps, so it's probably a bit difficult for them to keep adding in different ones, and to just mix them up and just change them around a bit, it keeps things quite fresh and stops you from getting too fatigued with what they've provided already. They also mentioned the addition of cosmetic DLCs. I suspect that's going to be something we're going to be getting a fair amount more of, because they are going to be adding an in-game store, and there seems to be a bit more of a push in the direction of potentially buying these DLC cosmetics and trying to create some revenue going down that avenue, which we've seen a lot of other games do as well. They talk about a locomotion upgrade, in particular fixing the mantling, which is something which does need to be addressed. I don't know if it is just mantling that they're going to be fixing. If there's other locomotion upgrades they'll be doing, that'd be awesome. But yeah, they definitely need to fix the mantling. That'd be a great little addition or upgrade. And then on to the first really big thing in June, we are getting the British. Yes, that will be awesome. I think everyone's pretty much looking forward to that. I imagine it'll be a similar thing to when we got the Soviets. I imagine it'll be 2 maps. Probably at least one of them in Africa, maybe one in Europe. I don't know. We look forward to getting more information on that. They do say it's just the starting point of the British, so they'll be adding in more content in a similar way they did with the Soviets. So I imagine it'll be 2 maps to start off with, and they'll be adding a further map down the line. Non-verbal communication. I actually think that's a really cool thing to do. I think it's a nice thing. If someone doesn't have a microphone, they can potentially use the non-verbal communication to at least show that they're listening if the squad leader's saying something. We'll see if people actually use it. I'm definitely going to be abusing that non-verbal communication. I'm extremely excited for that. I hope there's some offensive ones you can do. And now quite a big one, quite an interesting one, I suppose, one that's good to discuss, is a new game mode. So they talk about this a few times, but initially it's a game mode already based on an existing map, and they're talking about having a smaller, more objective based game mode, which will last around 30 to 40 minutes, which I think is a pretty good duration. It's not too long, not too short. It's not like they're just going for some 5-minute team deathmatch. 30 to 40 minutes, still a decent amount of time if you don't have an hour and a half to spend. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I don't know what the objectives are going to be. Hopefully it'll be fairly interesting, not just capture this point and stand in the circle. Hopefully a bit more interesting than that, and it'll give us a bit of variety and something different. It is not gonna have tanks, so any of you tankers out there might be pretty disappointed with that, but I think that goes hand in hand with a bit of a more casual game mode. I assume it won't have artillery either, just have a more infantry focused, smaller, shorter game mode. So I'm kind of interested with it. I think it'll be a good addition as long as they keep the big game mode alive as well. Another addition which is almost comical, I don't know what is going to happen with this, is getting the game onto Steam Deck. I don't understand how that's going to work. I actually don't know the hardware of Steam Deck. I imagine it's pretty solid, but Hell Let Loose doesn't run great at the best of times. I think that hardware might struggle, but more importantly than that, when I play Hell Let Loose on my whatever it is 24 27-inch monitor, my face is right up against the screen. I cannot imagine trying to see someone in the distance on a Steam Deck screen. That is going to be ludicrous. I don't know, you're going to have like a field of view of like 3 degrees or something, try and zoom that bad boy in. But yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I still think that when they tried to get Hell Let Loose onto the PlayStation was when the real development of Hell Let Loose stalled quite a lot, because they had so many issues with that you could tell their development team just got pushed on to making sure the console version worked as opposed to progressing the PC version. So not sure about that one at all. I'm not sure they're going to get that many new customers on the Steam Deck, so must be hopefully it's just an easy port over, so it's not much work and they just think, why not, we'll just do it and say that's something we're doing. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one, that's for sure. They're going to be adding in a new tutorial. It's about time. They definitely need one for new players, because as anyone will know, experienced Hell Let Loose player, when you get those free weekends and the new players come in and they have no idea how to play the game, the lack of tutorial is so evident. I know YouTubers try to give their own tutorials, but it shouldn't really be down to the community to do it. So I think it's good that they'll add in a hopefully very good tutorial for new players to use and get a good idea of how to play the game. Like I said, they're adding in an in-game store. There does seem to be a bit of focus on cosmetic DLCs, which I think we'll see a fair amount more of. And like I said as well, I mean, Hell Let Loose is almost an extremely pure game, I guess to say. It's like old school in terms of the lack of cosmetic purchases. Hopefully there's not going to be any Hell Let Loose coins or anything like that. I don't think there will be. I think they'll keep it reasonable, but they're just trying to get a bit more revenue. And I don't mind paying for some in-game items, as long as it doesn't look too ridiculous. And I don't think they'll make it look too ridiculous. Seen some examples of the kind of things they might want to add in, some different helmets, and they look fine. They look in keeping with the period. It's not going to be like someone with a pink outfit running around. So all in all, as long as they don't slide too far down that slope, I think I'm pretty fine with their in-game store purchases and their cosmetic items. Something fairly outrageous which they said, I guess it kind of gives us an idea of what they're thinking in terms of how long they'll develop Hell Let Loose for. I'm not sure if they'll actually do this, but they did talk about long-term updates with a calendar year equating to a year of the war, so 1939 to 1945. I don't know if that means that in 2023 they're starting at 1939. I don't know, but it seemed like, I guess in general, that they're looking to develop Hell Let Loose for a long period of time, unless I've just completely misunderstood something, which is not entirely impossible. Another big thing, and this is kind of an interesting one, is they're adding in, they made it sound like an event, but I guess it's just a map called the Battle of Danzig. Now, this is a smaller map, so it's not going to be a full-size Hell Let Loose map, so you're not going to be able to play the regular Hell Let Loose mode on it, I would imagine. Instead, they're referencing this skirmish mode, which sounds different to the new game mode I mentioned previously. So it seems like there's going to be a couple new game modes going into the game going forward. Now, I didn't mind it. I actually preferred when they were saying they're going to have big maps and they're going to have smaller versions of those maps with different game modes. I kind of prefer that way of doing things as opposed to making smaller maps which are only going to allow you to play on the shorter game modes. For me, and maybe this is too much of a nitpick, that's a little bit too much of a push in the direction to those shorter game modes, and you're starting to go a bit more into that team. It's a bit harsh for me to say, because they say the smaller game mode on the other map was 30 to 40 minutes, which is a good duration, but you're just starting to get into that team deathmatch if you're having only smaller game modes on a particular map. I don't know what you guys think about that. For me personally, I prefer them just modifying a bigger map so you can play the regular game mode if you want, but if you want to play a smaller, shorter game mode, then you've got that option as well. Another thing is, and another huge update coming towards the later end of the year, is it December, I think? Yeah, 2023 December. You've got the Winter War update, which will be Finland against the Soviets. That came out of nowhere. I didn't hear anything about that. That's going to be amazing. I love my snow maps, so that'll be really, really cool. And they also mentioned dynamic weather, which would be very interesting as well. I think that'd be awesome. If I think back to Battlefield 5, I remember having really, really cool dynamic weather. I think that'd be great. Change the battlefield. Hopefully, once again, like I say, their performance doesn't take too much of a hit when they add those kind of things in. Hopefully, they'll improve that performance. But yeah, Winter War update, Finland, Soviets, new faction, huge update. That's going to be really, really cool. I like that addition. I wasn't expecting it, and I definitely look forward to that. So on the whole, their roadmap to me looks really good. I should probably end this, and I hate to be a negative Nancy. I don't like it, but maybe to end it on a bit of a negative note, you know, I've seen roadmaps from like this before. Don't always get what's on the roadmap, so you've got to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But if we do, I'll be extremely happy. Some new factions in there, some big updates. We'll just got to see how it plays out. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like and also think about subscribing. Cheers, guys.